Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms or designee, has the front lobby been attended to ensure public access? Thank you. The school board meeting of June 28th, 2022 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. I would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district vision to be a world-class school system. Board member Patrica will be participating and voting by phone. This evening pursuant to board policy 1.11. Ms. Patrica, are you online?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I will be calling, when we come to a vote, I'll be calling so that way we will ensure your vote. Verbal vote. Tonight on the agenda, we have the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, public comments, consent action items, which include one item under board office, 15 items under academic services, 6 items under business services, 4 items under human resources, 12 items under operations, and 1 item under attorney's recommendation. 1 item under public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Ms. Vaughn, and may I have a second?
I'll second.
Sure. Okay, thank you, ladies, for being so attentive. The motion has been moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Fisher, and please record your vote.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ms. Patrica. Uh, 7-0, motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Gittens will introduce her guests for the invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Gittens, please introduce your guests for the invocation.
Thank you. Reverend Israel Suarez, Nations Association. Nations Association Charities was founded in 1978 by Dr. Israel Suarez. Over the years, thousands have been able to benefit from his assistance and programs. Reverend Suarez and his family have mentored and reinforced positive lifestyles and values that will allow families and young people to take their place as productive members in our community. The youth in the Fort Myers community have learned life skills, been taught personal responsibility and leadership. They have earned scholarships, volunteered in the community, and have mentored those that came after them in our programs. Reverend Suarez is also a founder of the Community Prayer Breakfast, designed to bring Southwest Florida residents together. His vision for Nations is to provide programs that help transform at-risk youth in Southwest Florida into points of light. In 1990, the Nations Association was recognized with the Point of Light designation by President George H.W. Bush. Now, as he celebrates 43 years of service to this community, he continues in that mission. Please stand and welcome Reverend Suarez.
My respect to each one of you that are doing such a wonderful job here in the community. Thank you, Father God, because you are so good. Under the situation that's happening around the world, you there to protect. And I ask you, Father God, that you can bless this meeting. This meeting is very important because they have to do with the children that need so much help. And I ask you, Father God, that you can bless this meeting in the name of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher?
Yes. We'll salute the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Ms. Dupree-Bruno, please address the item of public comment. And before you do, I just wanted to, earlier today, we had a briefing, and we were speaking about RSM and our auditors, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that we had been receiving the information. There was a miscommunication, and everyone should have that in their mailbox as of this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point, good evening, members of the public. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted in and will be made from the microphone in the back. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback in school district issues. Abusive language is prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or a display of temper during the public comment period is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. We will take recesses as necessary if there is not decorum in the chambers. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20 speakers, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow the staff's direction when lining up. Madam Chair, there are 10 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you. Please make sure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comments. The card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with the staff in the hallway. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but did not fill out a comment card? Please raise their hand. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board who has not filled out a card? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. Mr. Dupree-Bruno, I don't know if they count. Mr. Dupree-Bruno, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will the following individuals please line up? Sharon McGill, Keith Olson, Paul Cohen, Jamie Merchant, Marsha Ellis.
Madam Chair, can we ask that the light be turned on?
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, Sharon McGill. I'd first like to thank Dr., and I hope I pronounced her name correctly, Desimores, and Ms. Lecter for updating us this afternoon on the students that were sort of these ghost students that were attending public schools, but we were getting charged for their scholarships. And she followed up with that and got an answer for us. and it meant a lot of money coming back to the district. So that was a great thing that they did. Now, I'd like to, again, comment on the Estero Charter School application that's on the agenda tonight. I'm sure that district personnel have done their due diligence, as it looks like it took several revisions to get to this point. With that said, I would hope the board considers the amount of contention that went on over the past 2 years regarding the district building in the southern zone of Lee County. The reason a new school was moved from the south zone and to the east zone was because there was more need and it showed more growth in the east zone. So how in good conscience are you willing to sponsor a charter school in that same area? In fact, it's in an even more remote area. According to the application, they say they will most likely be drawing from about 9 different schools, the closest being approximately 8 miles away, up to 27 miles away from the school. I know even if the board were to vote no, they're still going to get their application approved by the state. They'll just take it to the state and it'll get approved. But I just don't know how you can willingly sponsor something that seems to contradict the board initiatives for Lee County. Thank you.
Good
Keith
evening.
Olson. Good evening. I was not able to be here during the last action meeting, and yet I understand that the charter schools issue was brought up and that there were some kind of disparaging remarks about being in a hazardous zone, but further research has indicated that that is not true for the Estero development. I'm a big believer in free choice. As long as our choices don't impinge upon other people's right to choose, then I think right to choose, and if it doesn't harm others, our right to choose brings creativity, brings perhaps competition, brings a lot of clarity. And I think that is particularly true with schools. I support public schools. Since I've been a recent resident here in Lee County, I've been attending as many of these meetings as I possibly can. The 60 years that I spent in San Diego County before, I was a supporter of the public schools there as well. My family members have history of being in public school and in private schools, both secular and Christian. Though none of my family has been in a charter school, I've been a supporter of a number of charter schools in San Diego County. And when we have a foundation, such as Optima Foundation, that has a good record, a good positive record of running schools and having students excel, I think we've got to be very careful about voting no for such an expansion, both in Fort Myers and in Estero. So I encourage the board to vote yes to both of these schools. Let's not fall into a regressive kind of approach to our education, but an expansive approach to education. Let's vote yes.
Good evening. My name is Paul
Good evening.
Cohen, and I'm chair of the board's audit committee. And I'd like to set the record straight from the briefing session that was held earlier today. There were several misconceptions regarding the audit committee and RSM, which is the board's internal auditor, and how that process works. The board, unfortunately, was not communicated with as they should have been with all reports. That has now been addressed with staff, and that was a staff oversight, and it has been corrected. RSM has been providing on a monthly basis a status update on all work performed for the district. Secondly, it was brought up during the briefing session regarding Audit Committee and their roles and responsibilities. I carry a binder because I'm old school. However, every member of the Audit Committee has all of the information that I have within this binder, which is all prior audits, all risk assessments, board policies related to the audit process, financials, information regarding members of staff, organizational charts, the board's responsibility as relates to the audit process. We take our roles extremely seriously. We are publicly noticed and recorded for public information. Nothing is held from public view, and especially not held from the board's view. The other misconception that was brought out today is that the Audit Committee is reviewing and potentially altering information provided to the board. That is the furthest thing that is allowed to happen. The internal auditor is an independent body that was retained for the board, not the Audit Committee. We are in a position as an oversight role at the direction of the board. We were appointed by the board, and we could be removed from our positions by the board. So I just want to make sure that the board is fully aware that we embrace our duties and responsibilities as Audit Committee members. In fact, at the end of this year, we will be preparing our own report card and presenting that to the board so that they know whether or not we lived up to the expectations of the board in our roles as an Audit Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Jerry Ware, Melody Beaver, Linnea Beaver, Brett Beaver, Robert Roper.
Hello, my name is Marcia Ellis, and I would like to speak in opposition of the siting of the Estero Classical Academy at the proposed location. I am speaking out of concern for really three different areas. One is safety. Safety is the major concern that I have as we look at the corridor, the corkscrew corridor, and the overcapacity roadways that are there, as well as the ongoing construction, which is currently in phase 1 and we will be in phase 2, and then projected construction, which is 10 years out to widen the two-lane section from Alico out to Verdana. So we are a long ways out to bringing adequate roadways to that location. I'm concerned because this is the single artery that to access that school. So if we have a frequent, as we do frequently, fatal accidents that shut down that roadway and require emergency services that could delay responses to that school location. I'm also concerned because we are a data-driven school district, and the traffic data is questionable when it comes to accurately representing the level of service in the concurrency report that was prepared by Lee County. And I will say that in Lee Plan Policy 95.1.3, it states that compliance with LOS standards will be used for facility planning purposes. And I think that we should consider that when we weigh out the negatives of placing this school on an overcapacity roadway. I'm also concerned about attitude that the applicant has shown towards environmental considerations in the audio recording and the informal meeting that is available through the county. I'm concerned about taking a public facilities designation for zoning purposes and then splitting off commercial parcels from that. I think that the placement of the school in a high-dollar real estate market goes against the ethics that this community has established to put public facilities in locations where there is demonstrated need, which is in the East Zone. And lastly, as a teacher who is impacted by the data that I read in this concurrency report, which in 2021 stated there were 900 too many middle school students in the East Zone, and having to experience that overcapacity over a number of years, and personally in my life, I urge the board and I urge community members to please show some leadership in getting those educational facilities to the East Zone.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Merchant. In the words of Rebecca Friedrichs, charter schools and private schools are more successful than public schools because they demand parental involvement, which is something Lee County could use much improvement. My husband is a product of Lee County schools. When he moved us back to Lee County in 2011 with our then 2 children, he was very adamant to keep our children out of Lee County public schools. We were very happy with the school that all 4 of our children attended until COVID. Thanks to school choice, we were able to find a new school that had 0 restrictions and could get my son back on track, who is now testing ahead of others his age. Because of school choice, we've decided to enroll our now 2 high school students into Lee District schools. School choice is a family decision, and every family should have the ability to choose their school and type of education they want their children to have. This is why I'm very proud of Erica Donalds and how much she has accomplished. Her schools around the state have waiting lists of hundreds of families to receive a classical education. I fully support Estero Classical Academy and already know how successful it will be. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, School Board, Superintendent, and School Board Attorney. I am Jerry Ware. This evening, I would like for someone to address my concern as it relates to the Juneteenth recognition of that holiday. I noticed that the school district did not recognize it as a national holiday, so I would like for someone to explain why and if that will be the same way in the ensuing years. My next thing is that I am in support of the schools being built in Estero for those students who will not select our schools. We agreed to educate all children to their fullest potential. It doesn't matter whether it's a charter school. And if I'm correct, and I do try to read a lot, we cannot designate where those schools will be. Someone can correct me if I am wrong. And last but not least, I would like to say, I believe he has left, but our minister for the night, he was recognized by this Palm Beach Boulevard being named after him, Reverend Suarez, because he is one of those among us who continuously advocate and fight for those things in our community. Thank you. Please don't forget, my question is, why did not the school district recognize a national holiday of Juneteenth? Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Melody Beaver, and I live in Estero in Lee County, and I just wanted to say a couple things. It took a lot of courage for me to come up here because I'm nervous to talk in front of people, but I am in support of the 2 charter schools, and first and foremost, I have 7 children. We moved here from Chicago. One of the big drawing factors is we love Estero. We love that it's a family community. We love the fact that things changed during the pandemic. And I will tell you offhand, I have 20 neighbors who are on the wait list for the charter schools in Naples. So I will tell you, my kids go to Naples Classical Academy, and they love it, and they've thrived. And coming here from out of state, it was the best thing for them to get them back on track, They love their school. They're learning Latin. They're learning Spanish. They're flourishing. I see them reading all the time. I mean, I can't tell you enough, but there are so many families in our neighborhood that just really want their kids to be in a classical education, let alone a charter school. And there's nothing off of the east side of Corkscrew, and you should see the bus stops in the morning. I mean, they're full. The public schools are full, and especially the middle schools. That's the biggest challenge in high school. They're taking buses, and it's taking forever. And we really think it'd be a positive thing. There's so many, like I said, since the pandemic, things changed. There's much more families, and the whole Corkscrew corridor, they even just approved another 10,000 homes. And I can't tell you how many people are excited for this, these kids, and our neighborhood is full of kids. Things are definitely changing. Estero is a family community. I'm very for school choice, and I think it would be a great thing for our community. Thank you. My daughter wanted to say a piece as well.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
My name's Linnea Beaver. I go to school in Naples, Classical Academy, and I'm going into 2nd grade. And the drive is really long, so
You'd like a school closer.
I would like a school closer.
Thank you. Will the following individuals please line up? Kathy Stout, Tara Jenner, Jennifer Eno.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Board. My name is Brett Beaver. I am following my wife, so I have a lot to follow up with here. So I do appreciate the time for you to come out tonight and for me to be here speaking with you as well. In addition to what she said, 10,000, I know there's 15 to 17,000 homes on track to be built in the eastern corridor of Corkscrew. With the Altabit Foundation, they are able to deliver a school in a time period much faster than Lee County. And with the school choice, and I know the wait list is long already for the Naples Classical, just from our area. With the ability to have school choice and a classical school within our corridor would answer the question not only with travel, for many of us that still do travel all the way to Naples to go to the Naples Classical, because they all are up and down the corridor of Corkscrew. We carpool sometimes, but it will also answer the question when it comes to taking some of the weight off the shoulders of the public school system along the corridor as well. Naples Classical is a K through 12, and that's the goal for this one as well, for the Estero corridor to be a K through 12, which would then take the weight of some of the shoulders off of the public school system as well. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Robert Roper. I would like to speak to you about the proposed policy 2.35, the school-sponsored publications. Great job. I appreciate you guys getting out ahead of things that could happen with the school district. It just shows excellent leadership. I'd also like to speak about a possible revision that I've asked about before to board policy 2.18, district management of and selection of instructional materials. I would like for this policy to just add a couple of paragraphs that would enable a challenge form to be attached to a book that would alert the parent prior to the book being checked out. It is a rare occasion these days that the district, with just a couple of paragraphs, could create a policy that will protect all books, all students, and all parents. This is how we would want it to work. Anyone could fill out a challenge form. They might challenge it because it has sexually explicit material. They may challenge a book because it has religious material. Maybe there's some other reason a parent would want to challenge a book. That challenge form would be attached to that book. How cool would it be to add a couple of paragraphs to an existing policy to allow the district to be the big winner? All books secure, big win. All students win big by having access to every single book the parent approves. All parents get involved, which is something that's desirable from the district's point of view. It would let Pete Buttigieg allow his children to check out Lumberjanes, which is in 25 copies of Lumberjanes across the county in multiple elementary and middle schools. And at the same time, it would allow Ward Cleaver to allow his children to check out Pilgrim's Progress if they want. The standard argument is that the Destiny program already does that, and it absolutely does not. A parent can tag a book in the Destiny, but they have to know the book is there. And the way to know the book is potentially objectionable to anybody on either side of the issue would be to allow the challenge forms to be attached to the books. The technology is there for that. They're doing that now with the ad hoc committee, so we know it's possible. With a couple of seconds I have left, I would like to say that Erica Donalds and the Optima Foundation have an excellent reputation for schools, and I fully support what they're doing.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Eno, and I am here as a parent of a soon-to-be third grader and sixth grader. We were Lee County, we live in Lee County, live in Fort Myers, and up until last year, they attended Lee County school system schools, and I had them transferred down to Naples Classical Academy last year. We did the 45-minute to hour drive each way the entire year for them to get that education, and it was 100% worth it. And we are so excited at the possibility of having this caliber of education here in Lee County. I don't look forward to doing the drive again for another year, but I can tell you my kids have blossomed in ways that I didn't even know. If you would have asked me what classical education was a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But now having them come home and be able to read books I never imagined, be able to have more in-depth conversations, their reading has exploded. It just is incredible, and I'm so excited for the possibility of this being in Lee County. So I just want to thank you all for considering this, and I look forward to it hopefully being approved. Thank you.
Good evening, Kathy Stout. First, I'd like to say thank you to the whole board. At our last meeting here on June 14th, I described something that was really important to me on the security measures, and I want to say thank you to all of you for reading my email, be very prompt about that, so I do appreciate that very much. Not only did I follow up with the email, but I'm pleased that my email was I was able to speak to someone that was ahead of the security, and I really do appreciate that. So I have to say, I believe we are heading into the great efforts to ensure their district security needs in their new school year. So I do appreciate that. So thank you. And I also want to say that I also do support Erica Donalds. I am also on a wait list for my son for charter schools here in Lee County, and so I'm hoping that something would happen soon. Thank you.
Tara Jenner. The expression iron sharpens iron comes to mind when I think about charter schools, and competition actually increases the quality of all education because people will look to see what their choices are that are available to them, and they will go where they see the best education for their children. And we have seen Erica Donald's schools do just that. And it will encourage and inspire our public schools to actually elevate the quality of education we have here. So I would encourage you that absent any significant, justifiable reason for denying them, that you go ahead and approve that instead of maintaining a monopoly type control over the education system, ostensibly out of fear of competition. I noticed coming in that tonight I got to go through a wonderful search mechanism in the form of a walkthrough. I guess, what is it called? Sorry, having a brain dump here. But I would like to know, and I've asked this before, I was told that the reason we can't speak at the front podiums is because there's a security issue. And I was told there was going to be a behind-the-doors discussion about that. I understand why that had to be done because of security reasons. But the public has never been explained what the security reasons are that we can no longer speak at the front, unless, of course, you're one of the chosen few. So I still feel like I'm a little bit like Rosa Parks speaking from the back of the bus here. Rules for thee and not for me. And I'd like to know what the justification is for the continued placement of us at the back of the room, because I see everybody's heads turned back here, because for a while you were showing the people back here up on the screens, and now you're not doing it again. And I look at this and I think, why are you so afraid of us when we're having to go through security? You're going to get, what, a paper cut if we jump over the dais or over the pony wall and into the well and up to the dais? Because we obviously don't have anything on us anymore. So I'm a little concerned about the way things are going. I also question whether or not the board members go through the search mechanism that's given to the rest of us, and whether or not you're planning on having that done for all the staff and for all the meetings, because I've been to a number of meetings over the last several months, and it's only during this particular forum, the workshops and the briefings, that there's security measures in place. And to me, that smacks of an attempt to actually cause a chilling effect to public comment. So I just throw that out there. And my last little thing is, why is it there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of items that are deemed to be no longer needed or effective, and it says that there's zero value, but I don't see that there's any recovery for that through any kind of other mechanism?
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here this evening and giving us public comments. I know this has been brought up in a past meeting regarding the charter schools. It's not about, and I did hear several times a certain name mentioned as an individual. The charter school has nothing to do with an individual's name. So I just want to clarify that. It is the charter school and not Ms. Donald's. And Dr. Bernier, if you would, and I know you mentioned this the last time regarding the charter schools, could you please clarify our role in a charter school?
Madam Chair, happy to. District has a responsibility as applications are delivered to review the application of a charter school based upon a state mandated evaluation instrument. Once that evaluation instrument is completed, the staff then makes a recommendation to the board regarding the approval or denial of the charter. If a charter comes before you as a recommendation to you and you approve, then that charter begins a process for site location and contractual work with the district at the same time. That contract is also templated by the state. It is a model contract. There are minor adjustments that can be made to it, but generally that language remains fairly consistent, district to district, charter school to charter school. If a charter school is brought for a recommendation either to approve and then you choose not to, or a recommendation for denial is brought and you vote in favor of that denial. So if a charter school application is denied, then there is a process by which that charter may appeal to a charter appeals commission in Tallahassee, which is made up of 3 members that are charter authorizers, 3 members that are charter operators, and then there's an independent chairman of that. They then will hear the case, and then they make a recommendation to either overturn a board's decision or support a board's decision, and then that goes to the State Board of Education for final disposal.
Thank you. And as well, we cannot dictate the location of those schools either, because I know that the East Zone was mentioned regarding the placement or the possibility, but we do not dictate where these schools are located, correct?
That's correct. There can be a conversation with staff regarding a charter school application to have some conversation related to where we might see an academic need or a growth within our school district, but it is up to the charter school operator for the final decision regarding where they choose to locate their building.
Thank you. Let's see what else. And if you will, to Dr. Bernier, I know I keep sending this to you. As far as we have had discussions, the board has had discussion regarding the redoing of the boardroom to accommodate speakers, bringing them forward, and different changes that may take place during the next month. You want to add anything else to that?
We have had the closed-door sessions that some of the speakers have referred to regarding the placement of a podium. We are in the process of working with vendors in order to shift the podium and make some security enhancements to the boardroom, but I would like to stop at that point without a further conversation with our head of security.
That's perfect, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that was, and then, what else, I'm sorry. Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is, and I know I had spoken with someone prior to this evening's comment regarding this, and it actually was an employee and had worked that day and had asked about why were we working on a federal holiday. And I believe it was, the calendar was already made and it has to go through the calendar committee.
I was not present when the June 19th conversation occurred. I will tell you that in a former organization, we had an in-depth conversation. My understanding, and I'd have to defer to legal counsel and people understand, it would have to be accepted into the calendar. I've already informed Mr. Dodig as we look to the calendar for next year and the year following, because I do believe in a 2-year calendar cycle where we know not only what we're doing this coming year, but we're doing the following year as well. To look at Juneteenth, to look at the surrounding counties, because so many of our children are integrated between counties. We have moms and dads who work in Collier, their students go in Lee, or vice versa. And I think any alignment we can bring to our school calendars that will still allow Lee County to do what it needs to do, but provide some opportunity for parents to have supervision of children for around something like a spring break. That's some of the general directions I gave Rob Dodig. My understanding that Juneteenth, the 19th, fell on a Sunday this year. This has not ever been fully vetted by the federal government as to whether that holiday then transfers to a Monday. We will have to address Juneteenth this coming school year because it will fall on I believe a Monday, and it will come outside of the student attendance day, so it really becomes an employee issue of whether we're going to issue the holiday, and it would be my recommendation to this board that we set aside Juneteenth because it's a federal holiday. It'll adjust our number of working days for our 12-month employees.
Right, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. I believe that is it. And thank you, Mr. Roper, for your comments regarding the policy. Everybody's trying to work hard to make sure that we are doing what we have to do. Ms. Dupree Bruno?
The only thing that I would say with regards to that comment is there is a House Bill 1467 that has passed that gives very specific language with regards to media specialists, how books are chosen, the process, whether or not how books are kept on the website so individuals can search. So the district is currently reviewing that and beginning to implement or at least create a policy that will address that, as well as a process document. So it's a little bit more than what Mr. Broper requested. We will be following House Bill 1467 that will become law July 1.
Thank you. And I was speaking about 2.35, but thank you for the update on 2.18. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. The next is the approval of the action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to the board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all materials, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
I have no pulls this evening.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens?
I have none.
Ms. Vaughn?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Thank you, ladies. Is there a motion to approve the agenda consent item action? Oops, forget, I did not say that. Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve the agenda consent items?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. G. And please record your vote.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Dr. Bernier, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that were approved under the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is indeed an honor to do this, and we have a number of administrators being appointed tonight to responsibility positions within the school district. I want to remind all those people being appointed tonight, I had a great opportunity, especially with the assistant principal nominees, to be with them and have a chance to be very focused and very intentional in terms of meeting the community gathered. 4 years from now, I'll know every assistant principal that is going to be appointed. Right now, I don't. So I made it a very intentional process to meet with them in small groups to ask them a variety of different questions so I could find out a little bit more about them and their leadership styles. It is ultimately a principal's decision regarding who they bring to their team. But I also want to thank some of the community members that have been present as we've opened the selection process this year for community input. We've had SHC chairs, PTSA people, and other members of the school community be present and be a part of these selections. And I think it's a really valuable experience, not only for those making the selection, but for those who are being selected this evening. I do also want to just add that this is a great symbol of trust in you as an administrator, whether you're becoming a new athletic director, new assistant principal, or joining the district leadership team, the central office team. It's vital that you understand the importance of the core values of this organization, and I best can describe it as a measure of our trust in you, that you will do the work necessary in order to make and help support our children in alliance with their families' values and the values of this school system. So at this point, with no further ado, I'd like to recognize, and I'd like the people to stand and hold our applause till the end. It is an extensive list. Angie Lynn, who will become the new assistant principal at Bonita Springs Elementary. Danielle Jensen, who will become a coordinator in operations. Akia Matson, who will become an assistant principal at Veterans Park Academy of the Arts. Not here this evening would be Adram Bigger from Gateway High. He will be joining them as an assistant principal. And joining us virtually, Rose Moroso, assistant principal at Spring Creek Elementary. Additionally, we have Thomas Kenna, moving from teacher to director of athletics at Cape Coral High. Charles Morrison, from teacher to assistant principal at East Lee County High School. Brent Burnside, from teacher to director of athletic and activities at East Lee County High. Gary White, teacher to a director of athletics and activities from Estero High School. James David Johnson, coaching specialist to assistant principal, Fort Myers Middle Academy. Daniel Butler, from teacher to athletic director and activities director for Ida S. Baker High School. Frank Sims, from science coach to director of athletics and activities, Island Coast High. Ernesto Adamo, from teacher to director of athletics and activities, Lehigh Senior High. James Kroll, Lexington Middle, from teacher to assistant principal. Stephen Larson, Mariner High, from teacher to director of athletics and activities. Joseph Bowen, North Fort Myers High, from teacher to director of athletics and activities. Robert Taylor, Riverdale High School, from dean of student discipline to assistant principal. Lee Mason, Bonita Springs High, from teacher to director of athletics and activities. Betty Rodriguez, Cypress Lake High School, from teacher to director of athletic and activities. Aubrey Daniels, Dunbar High School, from teacher to director of athletics and activities. Stephen Cato, Fort Myers High, from teacher to director of athletics and activities. Almost done. Mary Fine, Lehigh Acres, from dean of student discipline to assistant principal. Justin Budmar, Riverdale High School, teacher to director of athletics and activities. Finally, change of assignments, Cindy Schneider, from Lehigh Senior High School, teacher to Island Coast High School, assistant principal. Adam Malloy, from communications coordinator, community engagement, to superintendent's office as the coordinator in the superintendent's office. Alan Woodward, from Cape Coral High School, teacher, to South Fort Myers High School, director of athletics and activities. And finally, Michael Dubeldi, from Island Coast High School, teacher, to Gateway High as the director of athletics and activities. Congratulations to all. Chair, board members, those are the appointments this evening.
You sure? You have no more?
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations to each and every one of you. That's amazing. We're excited to see what the next year brings. Okay, let's see, where are we at? The next on the agenda is attorney's recommendation. Attorney Dupree Bruno, please present your recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the approval to increase the expenditure for a service agreement by Taylor English Duma LLP to conduct and continue to conduct an independent, impartial investigation. The one-time increase of $35,000 is for the period of April 1st, 2022 through October 1st, 2022, and the approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Thank you. You have heard the attorney's recommendation that the board approves to increase the expenditure for a service agreement with Taylor English Duma LLP. The one-time increase of $35,000 is for the period of April 1st, 2022 through October 1st, 2022. The additional funds will be provided from the board attorney's office and reserves. This approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve increase expenditures for the service agreement with Taylor English Duma LLP.
And I'll second
Thank you,
that
Ms. Fisher.
motion.
And thank you, Ms. G. Is there any discussion? And Ms. Patrica, do you have any?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that, any conversation? No. Seeing none, please record your vote.
Yes, please.
Uh, 7-0, motion carries. Thank you. Next is public hearings. Dr. Bernier, please present your recommendations for this evening's public hearing item.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I'm recommending that the board approve the standard charter contract for renewal with the City of Cape Coral, doing business as Oasis High School. The school serves grades 9 through 12. The charter is for a 15-year term from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2037.
Thank you. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing items. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider the approval of the standard charter contract for the renewal with the City of Cape Coral, DBA Oasis High School. The school serves grades 9 through 12. The charter is for a 15-year term from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2037. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on this item only. The time allowed for comments is 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board regarding this one item? Is there anyone in the room that would like to address the board? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of June 28th, 2022. Dr. Bernier, please restate your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
Madam Chair, members of the board, my recommendation is the approval of the standard charter contract for renewal with the City of Cape Coral, doing business as Oasis High School. The school serves grades 9 through 12. The charter is for a 15-year term from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2037.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approves the standard charter contract for renewal with the City of Cape Coral, doing business as Oasis High School, for a 15-year term from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2037. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the charter contract for renewal with the City of Cape Coral, doing business as Oasis High School.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher, and thank you, Ms. Gittens. So it's been moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Gittens. Is there any discussion? Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Oh.
Yeah, I just want to say that I happily support this because Oasis High School and the City of Cape Coral have been excellent partners with us for many years.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Yes, please.
Seven zero, motion carries. Thank you very much. And I know we normally, and I have to apologize because I know we normally give a break for all of you to leave if you'd like to leave, but we're to the board comments, so if you want to stick around for the board comments, we'll get you out of here. First on the first one would be Ms. Fisher, please.
Okay, just real briefly, I want to thank the Equity Guide Committee for their participation in reviewing from the public perspective the new Equity Guide. I want to say that although it's summer and the kids are on vacation mostly, we have a lot going on with summer programs, a lot of professional development, our tech colleges on a year-round schedule, our Support Our Students program. And so I want to thank staff who continue to work while others are vacationing and keeping the things going and rolling, and I really appreciate everyone's dedication. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli.
Well, Ms. Fisher, you took everything that I have, but I just want to congratulate all the new hires and the new positions, the new appointments, and everything that was in it, because there's so many of you here tonight, so congratulations to you all, and I'm excited for next school year, 22 to 23. That'll be a great year, I think, and we're heading in the right direction with the new superintendent, so I'm excited about that, and I just want to thank him for his leadership. And really, that's it. And everyone enjoy your summer that has that time off or the vacation. It's well earned and deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. Ms. Patrica?
I would make most of my comments for when I'm physically present in the board room.
Okay.
But I do want to recognize our athletic directors. I am just really thrilled that they're finally receiving the recognition they deserve for the amazing and important work that they do for our kids in our schools every day. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gittens, please.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for the superintendent, if I may. Ms. Ellis had mentioned in her comments about traffic and that type of thing, and I know when we're building schools, we have that responsibility to deal with traffic flow and patterns. Is that the responsibility of the charter schools to work that out? I'm just curious.
Board Member Gittens, an excellent question. I can't answer that question with any definity at this time. I know that in my former county in Florida, the charter schools did work with, through planning and zoning, they did work with a traffic study, but my new relationship with Lee County government does not permit me at this moment to give you a definitive answer on that. I'll have to research and get back to you. I apologize.
No, no apology necessary. Thank you. And several people mentioned tonight about the need for middle schools, and I don't know if anybody remembers, but about maybe 2.5 years ago, I presented some data regarding our middle schools, and in certain areas that if we built 2 middle schools the very next week, that one would be full and one would be half full. And we're still working on that data and fulfilling those needs. So I know that it's being worked on. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. Juneteenth. I have an apology because I had it in my notes to mention at the last meeting, and I failed to read through all of my notes at the last meeting to talk about Juneteenth. One of the quotes that I read about Juneteenth, in case people aren't aware of what it was, and I love this quote: "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." And it's a quote that's used a lot for Juneteenth, but it should be used all the time for us to realize that whatever historical things occurred, that as we move forward in this world, we have to learn to do so together so that we don't repeat mistakes, but we move forward to a better society. I did attend a Juneteenth celebration at Clemente Park, and some of the things that occurred there were performances, and we've got some real talented children and adults in Lee County. There were dancers and singers, and there was also a presentation of the CARS Scholarship, and it's a scholarship with a group of individuals that's given out every year to students in our school system. And I know I was there last year, I think you were too, Ms. Jordan, and some of the things that these young people have achieved already in their short time is just amazing. And to think that with the mentorship, like programs like the CARS Scholarship, will help them to even achieve higher and more. So thank you to all the people involved with that. Now, I have to say this, I know this is going to come up later, but when I walked out into the hallway this evening and I saw Evolve, if my bad knee would have let me do a somersault, I would have done that. I have been saying forever and a day that we need, and I call them metal detectors. That doesn't even look like a metal detector. The things that were against metal detectors over the years have been, we can't get enough kids through there. You can run multiple students through there. I hope that when it comes up, that I'm the first one to raise my hand to make the motion to look into doing something like that. when you go, and I mentioned this before, you go to government buildings, you get on the airplane everywhere, and some of their systems are much more obtrusive than that. The fact that we could get, hundreds of students through in a short period of time. We talk about safety and security. We have to put our money and our time where our mouth is. And I am just ecstatic over the fact of having that piece of equipment be a possibility to keep our children safer and more secure in Lee County schools. Other than that, we won't be back together until the 26th. And I know a lot of people are taking vacations and staycations with the cost of gas, but it's going down. So we're getting there. But I just wish all of the staff, everyone has worked so very hard. And you ladies and gentlemen, congratulations on your new appointments. I know that you worked very hard in your previous jobs, and you will in these jobs as well. And I thank everyone. Have a safe time off if you're taking time off. And let's come back ready to do what's best for children and help them all to achieve their highest potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn?
Thank you. I actually have a good of the order this evening that I'd like to read.
Please.
Okay. At yesterday's board workshop, Mrs. Giovanelli brought up the topic of having Acceleration Academies do an in-person presentation to our board to outline the benefits of their nationally accredited program to us in Lee County, and to be able to be here in person to answer questions about the program. Acceleration Academies has successful sites in multiple Florida districts, school districts, including Miami-Dade, St. Lucie, Sarasota, there are others, and across the country, including Clark County, Nevada. Several months ago, I visited the Sarasota site for Acceleration Academy. And while I was there, and I was there for actually quite a while, probably a couple hours, I had the opportunity to talk not only to teachers and the various counselors, social workers. They have a lot of different support personnel, and most importantly, to not only several students who were enrolled in the program, but also I had the opportunity to sit in when there were a couple young ladies, one of whom had a baby, that were getting information and enrolling in the Sarasota site. Sarasota County Schools, very happy with it. As a matter of fact, I was surprised that Mrs. Jane Goodwin, who is the Sarasota Public Schools Board Chair, actually made a special trip to the school site to greet me and tell me how pleased their county was with their association, their partnership with Sarasota County. Students at Acceleration Academies have various backgrounds, lots of different backgrounds, lots of different situations. But the one thing that I determined that they all have in common is that for whatever reason, a traditional high school setting does not work for them. To go to an Acceleration Academy school, one must be high school aged, eligible for grades 9 through 12, a resident of the district. And here's the thing that has been, I believe not coming out really straight in some of the discussions that I have been privy to, one-on-one discussions with the prior superintendent and some other discussions. The students enrolled at Acceleration Academy are not currently enrolled in high school. They must be withdrawn from their previous school. Okay, and like any other student, they're eligible through the time that they turn 22 years old. Okay, and for the state monies and all of those other things. Okay, so kind of putting a close on the point of this. As I mentioned, yesterday, Mrs. Giovanelli brought this up. I know that a couple of us have either yesterday or in the past voiced the fact that we've been interested in the program, that I'm definitely interested. I know Mrs. Giovanelli is. I believe that yesterday I heard Ms. Fisher say that it's something that for several years she's wanted to take a closer look at. We may have others, but at least 3 of us here, I know for a fact, because of yesterday's conversation, are very interested in this. And I very much appreciate the way that Dr. Bernier always responds in a very timely manner to questions that we bring up. And so this morning, as part of an email from Dr. Bernier that responded to several other things, is this piece. Our superintendent said that he's working with Chief Academics Officer Dr. Spiro, related to graduation interventions. He says, the superintendent said, we will be developing, he and Dr. Spiro, a presentation related to the school district of Lee County and how central office and schools intercede and assist students to graduation. That's great, because in the 8 years that I've been, can't believe it's been 8 years, but it has been 8 years since I retired from the school district teaching at Estero High School, so many things have changed. So it's time for me and probably many of us to get an update on this. Now, the last part related to this presentation on graduation interventions that we are doing as part of our various programs in this school district, Dr. Bernier concludes this paragraph with, we will also update you within the presentation regarding Acceleration Academy, because there have been some ongoing talks, but again, from my point of view, I'm only speaking for myself on this, I've heard bits and pieces, and some of the bits and pieces over the months have been somewhat different, let's just say. So, here is my motion. I move that we direct the superintendent to arrange for an in-person presentation to the board by representatives from Acceleration Academies to outline their program and answer questions. Would you like me to repeat it?
Did you send that forward?
I have not sent it forward. I will repeat it. It's pretty straightforward. Ms. Dupree-Bruno?
So we know that in our protocol, the board's protocol manual, you need to have that leeway so that the board has an opportunity to digest the motion and prepare.
Okay, I didn't do that. However, I was anticipating that question. Mrs. Giovanelli did that yesterday, and I'm just picking up the ball here. This is something that we discussed yesterday. It's something she brought up. It's something that it may not be her identical words, but she said giving a heads up so there are no surprises. So I feel in this case, because I'm not asking the board to vote on anything that's going to cost us money, all that I'm asking the board to do is to direct the superintendent to include in-person representatives from Acceleration Academies when this presentation is done. And I don't feel that it's an out-of-the-way request or a request that's stepping out of my lane, so to speak, because this is something that comes very close to what Dr. Bernier has already said. This, I'm going to repeat it again, but if I may finish on graduation interventions. In other words, instead of those two gentlemen and their team updating us, to have in-person people from Acceleration Academies here to do the presentation and under the guidelines that are established by us on the board, and also to be able to answer questions. And I do this very specifically because, as I said before, and this goes back to prior superintendent. As a matter of fact, I dare say, because this has been on my radar for quite a while, even back through Dr. Adkins. And I know that Dr. Spiro has particular views on this, although I have not had the opportunity to talk one-on-one with him. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, so there's been a motion made. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, at this point, there's discussion, and Madam Chair, if I may address this particular motion. I have concerns with having a vendor come to present with staff on any particular issues. I have concerns regarding any vendor coming to present to the board. Our policy allows certain things, and I want to make, and we have new policies that have not been in place, so we want to be very careful with the lines regarding vendors. One suggestion, perhaps information can be provided in the board weekly update that addresses what Acceleration Academy does, but in terms of presenting with staff or co-presenting with staff, I have a lot of concerns regarding that.
May I respond on this? Because there is there's previous times when this has happened. And I'm going to forget the name of the company again, but I talked about it in a one-on-one. About a year or so ago, there were representatives of a vendor that was presenting a program, and it was on identification of minority students. I think Ms. Giovanelli, and I talked about that in a one-on-one when Dr. Savage was still superintendent, and there were a group of people, and they barely remembered. As a matter of fact, we passed it as a board, but it never was enacted. But it was brought up, it was passed, and people were here. Now, I don't have a problem with the people from Acceleration Academy coming at a different time, but I'm telling you right now that I have a huge problem with the fact that we have not been allowed to have a presentation from this group. And I'll be honest that I feel that there is, I'm just going to put it out there. I feel that there's some kind of an agenda, there's some kind of reason why the heels have been dragged on this. You know, forgive me for saying it, or don't forgive me, but that's how I feel. And I think if there are, and there may only be 2 or 3 of us, and then the whole thing fails. But all I'm asking is for, we'll repeat it one more time, and then I'm interested in hearing the discussion, that we direct the superintendent to arrange for an in-person presentation to the board by representatives from Acceleration Academy to outline their program and answer questions. And I suggested as an addendum, but that's not part of the motion. And so that's it. I rest my case.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So just to address, I believe the group that you were talking about that came to an action meeting, is that the one that you're, okay, so our board policy does allow for special presentations, and there is a process that must be followed to have that special presentation. So long as conflicts are advised, so long as when you're making the presentation that you indicate to the board that I have a financial interest in what it is, there is a process in our board policy. Again, we want to be really, really careful with vendors. And this is something that we are trying to make sure that we clean up with our policies. So I caution the board to be very careful with vendors. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what they're selling. I want the board to be careful with vendors.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens.
This afternoon, I presented 2 possible vendors, and I thought that I was doing it in the proper way by bringing it up on the dais and asking the superintendent to look into it. And unequivocally, board members stated that by no means do vendors present to the board. And all of you agreed with that this afternoon. If that's the way it is, then that's the way that it is. I am not averse or against the Acceleration Academy, but if there are other programs that are just as, viable in other areas, but we can't present them because our policy says we can't, then we have to follow our policy. Now, the question I have about Acceleration Academy that makes it different is that we have gone through quite a procedure and follow-up, and staff has met with them, and things did start to happen. So may I suggest that we have an update on that, because at one point it was pretty fuzzy as to what the requests were and what was going to happen and all of that. So following our policy, we cannot have a vendor present unless we let other vendors present. And then secondly, perhaps an update on the who, what, why, and where we're at with Acceleration Academy.
So just to clarify, the policy 1.11 allows for special presentations, and there is a process in order to have these special presentations. From a legal standpoint, I advise the board to be careful with vendors. Not saying that's a violation of policy, because you can have a special presentation. I just want board members to be extremely careful with vendors, specifically because of Florida Statute 112, Chapter 112.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
Okay, so I need to clarify a couple things. So we had a vendor, and it was like a minority group that sat down here, and it was not at an action meeting. It wasn't a special presentation. It was an actual briefing. And then we turned around and voted for it, I think probably a week later, if not the next day. It was a Monday, or it was that close, and it was not, and they were a vendor, and apparently we voted on something that we've never used. So I like clarity on that, because I don't know or remember what that was, but it was some kind of minority, and they were from like DC or something. They were not from here. So that's number one. Second of all, the Acceleration Academy is a service. They're not a vendor. We do not have to pay them. They are going to pay us. We get money back as an FTE. This is like having us using the Rosetta Stone to help our students. This is not a vendor where we're going to be paying them. There's not a fee for that. They take on the whole costs, and they use FTE money to do so. So I love how everybody wants to flower up information to only confuse the public anymore. The reason for Ms. Vaughn's presentation, and this is why I wanted it. I don't know, I can't speak for her, but I can tell you why. It was so that the community would understand what the opportunity is for the Acceleration Academy, and shame on us for not using it and graduating our students. And that's where we're missing the boat again, because we have students that have not graduated, and they're at home, like I said, playing computer games and watching TV. And we can put them back in the classroom, get their diploma, not a GED, but a real diploma, so they can work in our community and be self-sufficient and be a very good community, back to help our community, and a very good, back into the face. I'm sorry, I get upset because I can't believe people start using words that don't even matter here, and to really confuse the people. So let's get back to the reality of what this really is. It's a service for our students that will help our students. And I support this. I want to call the motion because I don't know why anybody would not want something good for our students. Just like it's another option and a choice in the community for our children to be successful and give back to our community, and just like a charter school. And we can do this, and this is not even a charter school, but we can do this to help our students.
Thank you. And I'm going to continue to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. Ms. Morgan?
So I won't support it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't believe that we make motions the same day and act on them. And I don't believe that what Ms. Giovanelli presented was technically a motion. Secondly, I want to thank the board attorney, because I think we put ourselves in a difficult position when we invite someone to present to us and effectively direct the superintendent to act in a way that may support or not support or impact what he is doing, what his staff is doing. It's poor practice for us to dictate how we provide educational services to our kids. We've hired a superintendent whose responsibility, and he has said he will do this, is to look at the number of students who are graduating, those who are not graduating. What services are we providing for those who are graduating? What services could we be providing for those who are not graduating? It is his responsibility to make a recommendation to us. It is not our responsibility to tell him how he's going to run the academic program. So for those two reasons, I will not support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
Thank you. May I hear from Dr. Bernier, please, on this issue?
Thank you. And I know this was just asked of him to bring it back to us yesterday. So I know that you do not have that ready today. So Dr. Bernier, please.
I'll try to weigh in with very simple and succinct language. My response to you as board members today was heartfelt. I believe we have to look at what we're doing for graduation, what we're doing to help the young people that aren't crossing the stage. I think in order to make an informed decision regarding this, we should look at what programs and practices we have currently in place, both at the district level, the central office level, but also at our schools. There's incredible work going on beginning with freshman year to catch our kids and make sure they graduate. I reviewed some information today. I didn't have a lot of time with some other release of test scores that came out later this afternoon. But our traditional schools graduate 95% of our students. If you remove some of our non-traditional sites and some of our charters, not all of them because we have a very successful one in high school, but 5% of our children being missing from the graduation stage, I hear the board very clearly. 5% represents about 1,000, at least 1,000 of our students in over a 10-year period of time. That's 10,000 students that Ms. Giovanelli is talking about. I hear you loud and clear. I do think it's important as a new superintendent to dig into this issue and to be provided the opportunity to figure out where or if or how Acceleration Academy fits that process. I have been fair and concise with all of you. I want to do what's in the best interest of our children. But I too would caution all of us that to open the box for a vendor to present to you means every construction project, every book that we purchase, everything, you are setting a precedent that every vendor will now point to and ask you, well, we want an opportunity with the board. The other issue is if you vet, and I would defer to legal counsel, there is a reason why we have a procurement department. There is a reason why, with Ms. Gitten's emails today, I referred them off to individuals. There is a reason why a current doctor who would like to present and to be involved with school physicals. There's a reason why we vet those individuals to ensure a proper response. But I am here to do the will of this board. And I will continue to support the board based upon the recommendation actions. As a former charter school authorized in this district, this is the way I put it. On a Tuesday night, if you approve a charter school, I do one thing Wednesday morning. If you deny a charter school, I do another thing on Wednesday morning. It's just the will of the board and the way I need to approach it. But now as superintendent, I would go one step further and just caution us to give me an opportunity first to see where this program fits, to bring that presentation with Dr. Spiro that I wrote to you this morning about. And if it fits and it works for us and we can get to a contractual agreement that meets your expectations, then we can proceed. But for them to come and present to us, I'll stop there because I'm not really sure where I want to go next. I would like the opportunity to do the work you hired me to do.
Thank you. Mr. Bruno, and then I'm going to go back to Ms. Patrica.
Just for clarification, now that Ms. Giovanelli was talking about the vendor at the table, I do remember that. That was a vendor that we had a contract, or at least we were reviewing a contract, and it was on the agenda, and it was pulled, and they came to explain to the board what their services was. So that was a little bit of a different scenario than what we're talking about here. Just a little bit of a different scenario because that contract was something that was being brought before the board. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to finish with Ms. Patrica, and then I'll come back here. Ms. Patrica?
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Dr. Bernier, for that explanation. And I would agree that we need to give you an opportunity to dig into this issue and figure out where this vendor or perhaps another vendor that provides like services fits into our overall plan for making sure that our students succeed. I'm very, very hesitant to choose a favorite and sort of force that into whatever program or plan that you and your staff come up with. It feels backwards, and so I will not be supporting the motion. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Ms. Swan, because you had your hand up, and then I'll go back to Ms. Giovanelli.
Okay, I jotted down a few things. First of all, regarding Ms. Morgan, the poor practice, to me, and I think we have a different concept of what the responsibilities of a board member, what those responsibilities are, and my practice is that I want to serve this community in the best way possible, and that includes the young adults that are in the community that are not in school and were not well served for whatever reason, and I could give you case examples from talking to the students, but I won't take the time to do that now. That is really important to me, that we've, what Acceleration Academy does is at no cost to the school district, they go out and find these people. We had gotten to the point a while back that actually Dr. Spiro had submitted a long list of codes. And I know that Mr. Bruno was working with Acceleration Academy, but the reason that I'm so adamant on hearing from them and giving them an opportunity to answer questions is I have not once as a board member, been satisfied with the answers that I have been given. Remind you that as an English major, as someone who spent my career dealing with listening and picking out sidesteps, and I won't get into all of that, but I personally, and here's the dirty laundry, I personally feel that many of my questions have been blown off, sidestepped, not answered in a specific way. I'm willing to back off on this motion, but I want to see an honest and historical account of our dealings with this group, because this is not some fly-by-night that I just picked up out of the air. As I said, very large school districts. Miami-Dade has this, and, well, they lost Carvalho to LA, but that's an incredible forward-looking school district. As I said, Sarasota County, I was shocked when their board president, who I believe is former board president for the Florida School Board Association, actually came to meet with me to just tell me what a wonderful opportunity this has been for Sarasota. I think Mrs. Giovanelli made a good point about we're not paying this group. They do the legwork, and they bring in the students, and they benefit the community as I see it. The other thing is going back to the other example. I was a person for that other, I thought of it as a fly-by-night company, quite frankly, company that then we never even used. I had to post it in the afternoon, and a couple people, one of them was Mr. Clayton Simmons, came into my office to lobby me before the board meeting to please pass that, company. And against my better thoughts, I did go ahead and do that. So when we talk about precedent, when we talk about things that this board does or doesn't do, let's be real, and let's benefit the community and do it legally. And I am not trying to, I'm very happy with Dr. Bernier's leadership. I'm not trying to usurp anything. I'm not trying to run over him. I'm not trying to not do the way of work that a board member does. But you can see I'm very passionate about this, and I feel that something's got to give. Something has to give on this, and I'm sick to death to have heard all of the sidesteps that I have heard, and I'm sick to death of waiting, and thank you, Dr. Bernier, for finally coming through with a cogent discussion on what we are doing as schools and as a central office district to help our students graduate. But neither of those two things addresses those students that are out there in the community, as Mrs. Giovanelli said, playing video games. And it also, these are not like charter schools. Charter schools actually have come into our high schools. I've gotten a first-person report on that, to talk to students that are failing. And that's a good way to help our graduation rates. It's the truth. I understand. I'm just saying, they have come in this past year. They have been allowed into high schools to talk to students and to enroll students in our high school. And yes, you can make an argument that they're doing the children of the young people a favor in getting them maybe someplace where they actually can graduate. But, all right, I know I'm way over the top on this, and I'm done.
Madam Chair, just briefly, Mrs. Vaughn, I was going to respond because that was one of the questions I had for Dr. Spiro. I come from a district where there were charter schools that were allowed into our high schools literally to recruit students. So as we have this conversation about graduation and what certain pathways are, that was one of the questions I had for him. And as to the issue, I will continue to coach this staff very clearly. We make a recommendation and a board votes. We then administrate that decision. We don't come in and try to convince one way or the other. We make a recommendation. I answer your questions in depth as you have items on this agenda that you've asked questions about, so that you have the information necessary to make the decisions. And I appreciate the response from you tremendously that some of this information was occurring prior to my assuming this administration. But we will continue to work for the outcomes of our students, not the input, not the output, but the outcomes.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions. I'm looking at an email that's dated August 6, 2021 from to the Acceleration Academy's attorney from Attorney Bruno. Were we not already in contract negotiations with them? And like I said earlier yesterday, this can's been kicked down the road. So we've gone all the way into contract negotiations. All this other stuff that we've been talking about here is really kind of ridiculous, and we're wasting the community's time right now, because the fact is this was something we wanted to do. We've been talking about it. Dr. Spiro knows and can brief the superintendent completely on it, because I had a one-on-one with Dr. Spiro and his team, and we discussed it, and after that, we were moving forward. That's what I was told, so I don't want to act like this is a big surprise, and now all of a sudden, two people on this board are pushing this. This was already in a contract negotiations. So I don't understand the big pushback, but I'm hearing two people that saying they wouldn't support it like it's a big surprise, but they had the one-on-one too, I'm sure, because I know I wasn't exclusive.
Mr. Bruno, did you want to answer that? Because there was, but I know there was a code issue.
We have been on and off with contract negotiations for Acceleration Academy since, I would say, spring of 2021. So on and off negotiations. Legal will do what we are requested to do, and that's what we were doing. So when negotiations are not finished because of whatever directions that we're given, then we just don't finish the negotiations. There were a lot of complicated things in the contract negotiations with Acceleration Academies. Ms. Giovanelli is absolutely correct, even though how everybody was going to be paid, how Acceleration Academy was going to be paid was not something that was coming out of the district's budget, but it was coming from the FTE, and they were taking a certain percentage, and then we would have a certain percentage, so that's absolutely correct. There were other things in the negotiations that I believe were troublesome to the administration, so that's why we've had on and off negotiations with them.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens.
Yeah, I think we're at the point that, I'm hearing everyone's comments, and we're kind of belaboring it. The bottom line to me is there were negotiations that went on previously. I don't think we were clear as a board where those ended up. The next thing, we have a new superintendent who was not privy to any of that. So I believe what we're trying to get to here is to ask as the superintendent has said, for more time for him to get up to speed on it, to get with legal, to get with academic services, and find out where did it stop, where did it end, and come back and let us know what the next steps are, if there are any. And I, excuse me, and I will say there are, other vendors that don't cost us anything either. One of the ones I brought up today does not cost anything, but they will give health care to our students and staff. So that is something, and I passed it on to the superintendent. He responded, he's looking into it, and he'll get back to us on it. I think that's, rather than belaboring it, we have to give him the opportunity to get back to us.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Gittens. And I have to agree with that as well, because we just had this conversation with him to bring this, because there are many things that had been discussed through that period of time. So if we allow him that opportunity to get all that information and bring that before us, then we can decide what is the best measures. But I think that we have to afford him that right to do that. I mean, he just got here, and there's a lot that happened. So with legal and academics and everyone else trying to give him the information so he can take it all in, and then they can come back to us as we asked them yesterday, and he stated that he would do that. So that's my comments on that, is that we asked him to do that yesterday, and he said that he was going to. Ms. Vaughn?
I'm going to withdraw my motion for now, but this remains an issue that I trust, because Dr. Bernier has been nothing but honest with us on these things, that sooner rather than later, like months down the road, we will have a comprehensive view of exactly what our high schools are doing. I'm going to have to ask where that presentation was on Grad Academy, because I was looking last night and I remember some mention, but not a whole big presentation on it. On that, on everything having to do with the interventions that we have been doing, including the interventions that we do in finding those students. And, not all of them may be dropouts from here. These may be students that, ELL students that are served by Acceleration Academy and perhaps others that maybe don't count in with the cohorts. I'm not positive. I'm not an expert on all of the codes. I know Dr. Spiro has all the codes, because that was a discussion I had when I was at the Sarasota branch. So there's a whole lot to unpack, and I just happen on this particular issue to be a whole lot more passionate than perhaps some of you, or maybe less patient than some of you, on continuing. This may be bogus. It may not work. It may not work for us. But for heaven's sake, let's give it a chance. Let's take a look at it, and not try to use excuses, and not try to worry that we might insult some people that we know at the charter schools. So I will withdraw my motion at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn, and we will get this on schedule.
And those are my comments.
Thank you. And Ms. Morgan?
Just a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to congratulate the 2022 U.S. Army Cadet Command JROTC Army Instructor of the Year, Sergeant Major Kim Williams from Mariner High School. I want to call attention to a couple of the things that we voted on this evening that I think are of interest to the community. I Items H12, H13, and H15 were approval of academic affiliation agreements with Brighter Smiles and Magnolia Dental to provide facilities for the clinical preparation of dental assisting students, and approval of an academic affiliation agreement with Franz Eye Care to provide facilities for the clinical preparation of optometric assisting students. I think it's important that the community know that we are working hard to provide opportunities for our kids to leave school with their a foundation of a career. And then along that same line, I want to talk about partnerships with the county. H3, we approved a grant request for $4.4 million. It's a Florida Job Growth Grant to establish marine service and auto service technology programs at Cape Coral Technical High School. So again, we're trying to expand the capacity of our technical colleges and the different types of programs that are available to students. And finally, we approved H4, a licensing agreement with the Education Design Lab for the purpose of offering, digital micro-credentials to adult learners in Lee County for collaboration, creative problem solving, critical thinking, empathy, etc. We budgeted $62,000 for it, but it's part of a $750,000 grant award from the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. So we continue to look for ways not only to meet the needs of the kids in school, but also our adult community that is looking to refine, improve, acquire new skills. So I wanted the public to be aware of what we're doing. And those are my comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. I just have a very brief, I just wanted to congratulate, we had, last week, we did I think it was approximately 75 retirees from the district throughout. Some of them here 42 years, 35 years. It was pretty amazing because as they came up, we asked them, how long have they been here? And just the numbers were just mind-boggling how many years that service that they have given to the district. But it was a great event. Ms. Fisher was there with me as well. And just being a part of that and seeing that was really great. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. The Chamber, Southwest Chamber, they had a great presentation with the higher education. I know Ms. Vaughn was there as well, and they were looking at the future. What does the future hold for us in higher ed, and how do we all blend in together? And then I was at the Horizon Council as well this past week, and they spoke about the growth and how Lee County is just growing and just trying to keep up with all the growth, the streets and everything else, which of course, education, homes, everything, and that streets, you name it, they spoke about it. A train going from one end to the next end. So there's a lot coming up. It was kind of futuristic, so it was quite interesting. And I just want to say congratulations again to everyone for your that was approved here this evening, and I hope you all get some rest this summer. And Mr. Bruno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Some of the attorneys had the opportunity to attend the Florida School Board Association's attorneys retreat, and a lot of the new laws were discussed. I will share that our equity guide is of a lot of interest, so we're hoping that comes out very well because I know a lot of the attorneys are interested in how we handle this situation.
Thank you. Dr. B.
A couple things from my end. First and foremost, to the board members regarding our last discussion, I've already texted Jeff Spiro. We're already settled for a very early August presentation. In addition, I've asked him beginning tomorrow to contact the vendor so we can set up a meeting between the vendor and staff so that we can move forward, finding out from the vendor's perspective where things may have stalled and why. I'm familiar with Acceleration Academy's project, so product. So I look forward to engaging with them, and we'll do so and keep you apprised in our one-on-ones and updates and emails. Want to make sure that we take an opportunity again tonight to recognize those individuals who may still be with us and their amazing families and principals that are with them as well. Nobody gets to the point of leadership without great help and support from home. So I just wanted to take a second to recognize the family members as well as the principals who made these selections who are still present this evening. Thank you for being here to support your loved one. The other thing I'd like you to recognize from the agenda today, you also dealt with 2 of your remaining units, the salary end schedule, which is the supervisory technical confidential group, salary N as we refer to them as well as the administrative salary schedule as well. Thank you for your effort tonight. I'm sure those employees appreciate, like our teachers and our support professionals did, your generosity to their ability to compete in these economic times. And then finally, just a quick update. It'll be very difficult without charts and graphs, but we'll be releasing some information later this evening via press release. We did get an early look at our test scores beyond grade 3 today. Commissioner Diaz was on the phone as well as Jacob Olivia. They both did a great presentation to us regarding the state outcomes, which I will leave to the local media to tell you all about. I'm more interested in, and you're probably more interested in how Lee County students did. So I'll start with mathematics. In grade 3, which we did not have prior to this, remember the only things the state released was grade 3 in reading. And remember, these are raw scores to the community. This is every single student who happened to be in Lee County who took the test. Grades depend upon whether you were here both in October and February FTE. There's some other information, but if you have to explain too long, people don't think you're telling the truth, so I'm just going to move forward. In grade 3, we're up 4%. The state is up 7%. In grade 4, we're up 4%. The state is up 8%. In grade 5, we're up 1%. The state is up 1%. In grade 6, mathematics, these are all mathematics scores, we're up 4%. The state is also up 4%. So those are proficiencies. In 7th grade math, we're down 3%. The state is up 2%. In 8th grade math, we made no change in our proficiency. The state grew by 5%. We're up in Algebra 1 by 3%. The state grew 5%. And in geometry, we're down 4%, while the state moved in the other direction at a positive 5%. As we said in the past, and I will say to you in the future, this is the new baseline for this district under my leadership. We'll use these scores and these proficiency levels to set new boundaries and new goals, but we wanted to be clear and transparent with our community today. Those percentages may shift slightly, both for the state and for us, as we get into more refined October and February's test scores. Looking at reading, I would love to tell you that the information is better. But we knew that we lost some ground regarding reading. We were down 2%, the state was down 1%. In grade 4, we rose 2%, but the state is up 5%. In ELA 5, we're down 1%, while the state is up 1%. In ELA 6, we're down 2%, while the state remained even. 7th grade, both the state and Lee County made no discernible change. We're both at 0% growth. In 8th grade, we're down 5%. The state is down 3%. In 9th grade ELA, we're up 2%, and the state is up 1%. 10th grade ELA, we're down 4%, and the ELA scores for the state are down 2%. So those are our current pieces of information related to our grades 3 through 10. We will do some additional research. Dr. Matthew Kay has been hard at work since about 3 o'clock this afternoon, pulling data. We don't have individualized school data yet. That data has been released to the principals on a website. So the principals, I'm sure, who are not present in the room, or even if they are probably on their phones already pulling their own data and starting to work their magical calculations. I think what we have to recognize is this. The test scores are what they are now, and they're a new pathway forward for us. But we have to recognize the Herculean effort of this community, of our teachers, and of our principals, and of our children over the last 2 years. We knew potentially when this envelope opened that it would show the impact of the learning loss that occurred within the state of Florida and has occurred nationally. There are some bright spots in this where we need to investigate what we did differently at some different grade levels, because there are some amazing gains. It is statistically relevant if scores move 3 to 4%. And we have some areas where we've grown in that manner. It's time to dig deeper into the causes and the whys so that we can repeat these outcomes. We can look at what the inputs were. We can repeat these outcomes in order to get to our ultimate goal. So I just want to be clear and transparent. It's probably not the best way to end the evening. I probably should have stopped with congratulations to the parents and the family members who are here tonight. But this information will be, as you have said, some of you said to me, will be on the street very quickly. And we wanted you to have the information ahead of time. You'll receive the press release first, then it will go to cabinet and principals, and then it will go out to the community and the media. So I just wanted you to have that information. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. The next scheduled meeting of the board is on Monday, July 25th. There will be a board workshop at 9 a.m. and at 2 p.m. On Tuesday, July 26th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m. and a special meeting at 5:05 to adopt the tentative budget, followed by an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no further business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned and the time is 7:59.